The queen who burned her own crown. A tale of power, betrayal, and legacy. There are many stories about queens. Queens who ruled with kindness. Queens who ruled with cruelty. Queens who fought wars. Queens who made peace. But this is the story of a queen who did something no one expected. She didn't lose her crown. She didn't have it stolen. She didn't die defending it. She burned it. And when the flames consumed gold, jewels, and centuries of tradition, she changed her kingdom forever. This is the tale of Queen Elowyn of Valtheria, a ruler remembered not for how she wore power, but for how she destroyed it. The child who never wanted a throne. Valtheria was a powerful kingdom. Surrounded by mountains in the north and the Silver Sea in the south, it had stood for nearly 400 years. Its rulers believed in strength above all else. Conquest built its borders. Fear maintained them. According to the royal chronicles of Valtheria, Volonussen, the royal family believed that a crown is not a burden. It is a weapon. Elowyn was born into that belief. She was not raised like other children. While village girls learned embroider and dance, Elowyn learned diplomacy and war maps. While others played in fields, she studied military strategy. Her father, King Alric IV, was a feared ruler. Historians later described him as a man who trusted steel more than speech. He expected his daughter to be the same. But Elowyn was different. She would sneak away from the palace to visit the marketplace. She listened to fishermen complain about heavy taxes. She watched mothers ration bread. She saw soldiers returning from wars that had no clear purpose. She asked questions. Why do we conquer lands that cannot feed their own people? Why must fear be the language of a kingdom? Her tutors warned her. Her father dismissed her. But Elowyn remembered everything. A kingdom built on silence. When Elowyn turned 19, everything changed. King Alric died suddenly during a winter campaign in the north. Some claimed illness, others whispered poison. The official record states natural causes, but the Northern Dispatch letters suggest internal political tensions were rising. Regardless of the truth, the crown passed to Elowyn. She was young, unmarried, considered soft. The High Council, 5 powerful nobles who controlled the military and treasury, believed she would be easy to influence. At her coronation, they placed the crown of Valtheria upon her head. It was heavy, forged of gold and lined with iron beneath, a symbol of strength. But as it settled onto her brow, Elowyn felt something else: responsibility and fear. The crowd cheered, the council smiled, and quietly, behind the applause, they began tightening their grip. In the early months of her reign, Elowyn tried to govern with compassion. She reduced grain taxes. She halted a planned invasion of the Eastern Territories. She ordered investigations into corruption within the army. The council resisted. Lord Marrow, head of the military, warned her, "A kingdom without expansion dies." Lady Serene, keeper of the treasury, argued, "Compassion empties coffers." But Elowyn persisted. Then something disturbing reached her ears. Villages that protested taxes were being disciplined by soldiers without her approval. Political critics were disappearing. Orders were being signed in her name. But she had never given them. According to the hidden ledgers of court, discovered decades later, forged decrees were issued under royal seal by members of the council to maintain control and suppress dissent. Elowyn realized something terrifying. She wore the crown, but she did not control the kingdom. Betrayal in the palace. Trust is fragile in palaces. Elowyn confided only in 2 people: her childhood friend, Thomas, now captain of the Royal Guard, and her royal archivist, Mira, keeper of ancient records. Together, they began gathering evidence. They uncovered falsified tax accounts, unauthorized military campaigns, secret alliances with foreign mercenaries. The council was building power beyond her authority. And then the betrayal came. Thomas, her most trusted ally, was found dead in his chambers. Official cause? suicide. But Eloin knew better. He had discovered something too dangerous. A sealed treaty between the council and a rival empire. One that would replace her with a more agreeable ruler. A puppet queen. Her removal was being planned. Eloin faced a choice. Fight the council publicly and risk civil war, or remain silent and allow her people to suffer under corruption. For weeks she isolated herself in the Tower of Dawn. Servants whispered she was ill. The council assumed she was weakening. But she was thinking. She reread historical accounts of Valtheria's founding. She studied rebellions of the past. She examined how monarchies collapse. And she realized something profound. The problem wasn't just the council. It was the system. A structure that allowed power to concentrate in secrecy. A throne built on silence. She remembered her father's words. A crown is a weapon. Perhaps that was the problem. Weapons demand enemies, but she wanted citizens. The day the sky turned gold. On the first day of the Harvest Festival, the kingdom's largest annual gathering, Eloin summoned the entire population to the capital square. The council believed she would announce a new military campaign. They stood proudly beside her. Instead, she carried the crown of Valtheria in her hands. The crowd murmured. For generations, this crown has symbolized strength. But strength without justice is tyranny. Power without accountability is corruption. I was taught that to rule is to command, but I have learned that to rule is to serve. Gasps spread through the crowd. Then, before anyone could stop her, she placed the crown into a ceremonial forge prepared for festival demonstrations. Flames rose. Gold began to melt. The High Council shouted in outrage. Guards hesitated, unsure whose orders to follow, and as jewels cracked under heat, Valtheria will no longer be ruled by a single throne. The crown collapsed into molten metal. Centuries of monarchy ended in fire. The aftermath was immediate. Some nobles fled. Some called for her arrest. Some citizens cheered. The army was divided. But something unexpected happened. The people stood with her. Farmers blocked noble caravans from escaping with treasury gold. Soldiers loyal to Thomas stepped forward to defend the Queen. Eloin revealed the council's corruption publicly, displaying documents Mira had preserved. The Betrayal Treaty, the forged decrees, the embezzled funds. The crowd turned against the council. Within days, they were arrested and tried before a newly formed citizens' tribunal, the first of its kind in Valtherian history. According to the Dawn records, year zero of the new era, this marked the birth of the Commonwealth of Valtheria. Ending a monarchy is easier than building a republic. Eloin refused the title of queen. Instead, she became first steward, an elected position with limited terms and shared authority. She established a representative council elected by districts, transparent tax systems, civil courts independent from military power, term limits for leadership. The molten gold from the crown, it was reforged, not into another crown, but into scales of justice placed in the new assembly hall, a symbol of balance instead of dominance. Eloin served only one term. When urged to remain in leadership, she declined. Power must be temporary, she said, according to speeches of the first steward. She retired to a coastal village. No guards, no throne, just the sea. Years later, when she died, she was buried without royal ceremony. But every year on the Harvest Festival, citizens gather in the capital square, not to celebrate conquest, but to celebrate accountability. Children learn the story of the queen who burned her own crown, not as a tale of destruction, but as a lesson. Sometimes true power is not holding authority. It is choosing to release it. Themes, explained for modern audiences. This story resonates because it reflects real historical tensions seen in transitions from monarchy to republic throughout world history. See parallels in the English Civil War, the French Revolution, and various constitutional reforms across Europe. But unlike many revolutions fueled by bloodshed, this transformation was sparked by sacrifice. Eloan didn't cling to power. She dismantled it, and that is why her story endures. Power tempts, power corrupts, power isolates, but power surrendered. That reshapes history. The queen who burned her own crown reminds us that leadership is not about control. It is about courage. And sometimes, the bravest thing a ruler can do is step down.